Tankers is mad and welcome back. Right, we haven't done a tank review for a long time, so today we're going to be having a look around my new favourite tier 8 heavy tank, the 110. Yes, that's my new favourite. Why is that? Well, it just works. The frontal armour on this thing is by far the most effective frontal armour on a tier 8 heavy, in my opinion. It does look a bit like the IS-3 from the front, but this armour just works so much better than the IS-3's. It's not as thick as the KV-4's armour, but in terms of effectiveness, it just works, and I love it. Anyway, straight into it then. Packages. Start from the start. The stock tank is pretty wanky. The turret is off the IS-2 as well, I think. So yeah, you have the IS-2's guns as well, even here as well. So it's not going to be great there, although I did manage to put out a fair amount of damage, especially when you're top tier, because you still have that mental hull armour. You can bully lower tier tanks still quite nicely. At this point you get the upgraded turret, so your turret and hull is actually really strong at this point. And then the last upgrade pack gives you the nice 100mm, which is quite a novel change on a tier 8 heavy to have 100mm and not say 105 or 122. Although it is 100mm, but you get the same alpha damage as the 105 on the T32 at 320. Penetration is also pretty good at 215mm. That is more than enough for tier 8 games, except for extremely well armoured targets like T28s, things like that. You might need to use some premium. Yeah, so you've got what? Is that 16, 17 or more millimeters of pen than the T32? Yeah, so not bad gun at all, really, especially considering you're getting the same alpha and 6 rounds a minute, so the DPM's not actually that bad. Premium ammo is APCR. You will need some of those for heavily armoured targets, like I said, and the HE pen's pretty poo, but I still carry a couple just for cap resets and artillery. Aiming time's 2.9 seconds. That doesn't sound great, but in terms of IS-3 gun aim times, that's not bad at all. And accuracy is 0.37. So for a heavy tank gun, it's fairly reliable and fairly accurate. The main drawback about the whole upgraded tank is the engine power, 580 horsepower. For roughly, I think it's 51 tons tank, so the specific power is not great. It does have a good top speed limit, it just takes a while to accelerate up there. Track traverse 30, that's fine. Turret traverse is 26, that's fine. And the turret armour, you can see there the values. We're going to talk about the armour in a minute. And the other good thing about this tank, 380 meters base view range. There is an argument to ditch vert stabs on this tank and run coated optics to make yourself a little more self-sufficient and be able to spot your own targets. And also, if you're in a tier 8 heavy tank platoon and all your friends are running IS-3s with a 350 meter view range, you could always ditch the vert stabs, run coated optics, and give your platoon a little bit more view range. Yeah, but it's entirely up to you. Right, just have a quick look at crew skills. Don't have many in this tank. Got 6th sense, repairs, brothers in arms, snapshot, controlled impact. Mainly because I use this crew in my Type 59, but it does come in handy, and I'll show you a clip in a minute. And I'm training up clutch braking because this thing relies on having its frontal armour pointed towards an enemy. A good medium driver or a light tank driver, they will try and flank you. They won't even bother firing at your frontal armour, so they will try and get around you. So anything you can do to get that armour around quicker is a good idea. Yeah, so not a very skilled crew in mine, but there we go. Right, supplies, 2 HE, just because. 10 premium rounds for heavy armoured targets and tier 9s and 10s, stuff like that. And plenty of AP. I've gone for standard consumables, although I very rarely get set on fire, and I think combat rations would make this tank even better. But yeah, I'm not going to try it just yet. I think I'll wait till, yeah, I don't know. Right, equipment, standard heavy tank equipment, but like I said, you can ditch off vert stabs and chuck on coated optics if you feel like it. Right, so that's it for that. Now we're just going to have a quick chat about the armour. Right, let's talk about what is by far the best part of this tank. It's frontal armour. Look at that pike nose. This is basically a tier 8 IS-7, although I think it works better tier for tier. That nose is insane. And these two plates that make up this pike nose, they're 120mm thick, and they bring up numbers from roughly 220 right on the far edges to about 260 on the front of the pike nose. So tier 8 tanks, not a chance. And the lower plate is 110mm, although the angle's a little steeper than the upper plate. If people are a long way away from you, or looking up at the lower plate, it's a fairly easy pen. But if you can keep them at the sort of range where maybe they're slightly above you, or they're close enough to you to try and aim down and use their gun depression to try and fire down on the lower plate, it then swaps the numbers around. The upper plates become low 200 numbers, and the upper plate becomes sort of 220, 230 effective. So tier 8 tanks firing standard ammunition, or even tier 8 premiums firing premium ammunition, are going to have a real job getting through the front of this hull. And that is the main reason why I love this tank. The armour just holds up so nicely, and the turret as well. It's 201mm on the front. The gun mantlet has a load of spaced armour over the top of it as well. It does get a little thinner towards the outer edges, but because the angling increases, they become auto ricochet angles. And there's only one small patch on the roof of 40mm above the gun shield, so that's your only real sort of balancing feature on this tank. There's just that one patch above, which is a very small target. You can hardly see it from here, which is 40mm, which can be totally overmatched by 120mm guns. So just be a bit careful about that. And also the cupolas. They are quite hard to see because of all the junk bolted to them, but they are there, and they will be an easier pen than the rest of the frontal armour on this. Side armour's 90mm. That is more than enough to side scrape, and also it has some vertical angling on it as well, which increases the effective angle. So if you do have to peek a corner and you can't hide your lower plate, you can come round on a slight angle in this thing, although it will expose the top edge of the pike nose. Well, I say expose, it will reduce the effective thickness slightly, but if you can poke your arse end out, try and bounce a shot and then pull back further to take your shot, you should be fine. The back end's a little thinner, but it's still very well angled as well, so you will pull off a few lucky bounces off of there. So overall, one of the strongest tier 8 heavy tanks, and one of the strongest heavy tanks in the game for tier in terms of effective armour. And instead of going into tanks.gg, I'm just going to show you a few examples now of how I've managed to use this armour to survive just a little bit longer and get a little bit more damage done.
They found us! Ready to fire on target. Got him! Prepared, right on.
Right, tankers, on to the first clip. I'm about to abuse a Tiger 2 and his buddy. Right, here comes the Tiger 2. And I think it's a T20 or a T21. Right, so we'll get the first bounce. T21 tries to flank, kill him a bit quick. Now the Tiger 2's face hugging me. Really not a good idea for him. I have enough pen and gun depression to go through his lower plate. 6 degrees on this tank. It's not amazing, but it's enough. It's enough to aim down. Pardon me. It's enough to aim down on the upper plates of some tanks like the Tiger 2. Right, so I'm ramming his track, trying to keep him there. Get one for his engine block. I've got better DPM than him as well. Oh, and I get a bounce, and he actually penetrates my lower plate there. But hopefully that's going to be the last one. I'm going to take a little bit longer aim this shot. There we go. So we took one hit there and killed the whole Tiger 2 pretty much. Now we're going to skip on to later on in the game. I'm running seriously short on friends. The enemy's team have basically all of their tier 9 heavies left. And now it's just me. But my armour is going to keep me alive long enough just to get enough damage done to get my high caliber and get my full experience for this game. Right, so we've bounced 2 E75s now. We didn't bounce something else that was stealthed. I didn't see what it was. Again.
They found us. Dropping target.
And again.
That one left a big hole.
This is kind of ideal really, because my lower plate's hidden. It means firing upwards at my upper plates, which is accentuating them just that bit more. And he has no chance really, unless he catches my turret in certain spots. Bounce another one. Right, run seriously short of friends now. Running low on ammo. Cap time is ticking up, so I go for a poke. Get spotted. Go for a shot on the ST1, and I get killed by the E75 in the end. But still, my armour held up well enough there to be able to let me do enough damage to get my high caliber. So that's a quick look at the results of that one. Right, so there we go, nearly 3k experience, not a bad game there considering it's a defeat. High caliber mastery 1, 4,855 damage and over 3k block there against mostly tier 9 targets I was bouncing there, so yeah, pretty impressive. Right, on to an ace tanker replay then. Top tier game. It's an encounter mode, so pretty cool for a heavy because the cap drags people towards this end of the map, meaning you don't have to drive too far. So although this thing isn't slow, it's not fast, if you know what I mean. Right, so Borsig misses, but we get the spot. T-44 bounces. Well, no artillery in this game, so that's cool. I can just sit here and soak up some shots. Well, there's the Borsig. We bounce the Borsig. That was off the turret there. That was an unfortunate miss. Right, so they're trying to flank now, but our friendlies are smacking them, so they're not going to be much of a problem. Just time to keep getting the shots going. 6 rounds a minute with 100mm. In terms of tier 8 heavy tank DPM, it's not bad, but you really need to keep this thing firing to rack up the damage quick enough, if you know what I mean. Right. So I'm just keeping an eye out. Whoever I think is going to actually shoot at me, I'll try and keep my armour angled towards them. 110 is one of the strongest tier 8 heavy tanks, but you see a lot of them, they'll drive sideways out of a corner, fire their shot at you, and you just hit them in the side, and they make it very easy for you. But if you don't make it easy for people, you can keep this thing alive so long. And that gives you more opportunity to keep using that 100mm. Right, there's the Borsig. Right, I don't stay out too long. That is one tier 8 tank I am a little bit worried about. If he's using 128mm, he's got enough pen and accuracy to accurately have a pop at me. Right, we bounce the T28 and we put one into his cupola. Nice.
Locked and loaded. We've got a lock. We got him.
Oh, mistake there. Mistakes were made. I actually take some damage there. I didn't see what did that. Right, here comes the T28. Ah, dongs it into the dirt. Right, I switched to some APCR rounds. If I've got to fight this guy from the front, I could do with that extra penetration. Right, he's coming round. Go for his track, but I missed the drive wheel, but luckily he donks his shot. I ram his track again, but that was the other side, and only critted the track the other side, so now I have to go round him. But that's fine by me. He's got no buddies with him. He screwed that right up, and he's going to pay for it.
Enemy vehicle eliminated. Ready to fire on target. Penetration.
Alright, IS-3 can either aim for his cupola or the top of his turret. Mind you, 100mm might be a bit, I can't remember the thickness on the top of that turret. It might not totally overmatch with 100mm. Right, I'm making another mistake. You can see the angle I've come around this corner. I gave him the left side of my upper plate at quite a square angle. I'd be better off taking a much wider line and driving at him in a straight line and hiding my lower plate with this hill.
The enemy knows our location.
So I'm just playing peekaboo at the minute. I'm hoping my team we're going to push up and do something rather soon. But they're just going to sit in the cap, so I'm going to drive over the top of the hill. I've had enough of playing peekaboo with that IS-3. He could quite easily finish me off if I keep giving him flat edge on my front plate there.
In the base. Get rid of them.
So I decide to flank.
They found us.
Right, there's the Borsig. Come on, come on. Yeah, it's Borsig down.
For our team.
There's just a prototype and an IS-3 left, and this game's completely sewn up.
Ready to fire.
I looked at the IS-3, didn't see where the prototype was, but it's fine because our tracks soak up the shot. And I didn't burn my repair kit here,
Track is good to go.
and it turned out to be a mistake. I get to the IS-3 just a few seconds too late to put the final shot in. Maybe. I could have got that kill if I'd have burnt my repair kit, but hey ho, never mind. Right, quick look at results then. I was actually quite surprised this was an ace tanker. High caliber, master ace tanker, still one gun mark for 3,800 damage, but I think the 1,600 assist points really bumped up the score there. I realised all of those 3,800 damage, I was spotting my own targets, plus the assist points gave rather healthy base experience there. Kind of too much, I feel, really. I would have expected to have done more damage to get the ace tanker, but hey ho, suits me. Well, there we go, tankers. You've seen the 110 now. It is a really well-rounded tank. The frontal armour is by far the most reliable in terms of bouncing, in my opinion. Give it a go. It's a great little tank. The only thing is the engine is a little weak, and it does actually sound like a lawnmower. I wish they'd give the engine just a bit of a nicer sounding engine to it. Yeah, it's just like a pop lawnmower, stupid rubbish thing. I don't know. Anyway, right, there you go, fellas. Time for me to go now. Give the video a like if you did, sub if you're not, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you later.